Mike Robinson joins us. Mike Rob, thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mark. It's football season, you know it.
And every Friday night, Mike Rob will be here with us, with Mike Jewell, with Anthony Bellino for Game Day Nation, and he'll stick around for overtime. So, Mike Rob, I know over the last couple of weeks you've been traveling all around Northwest Ohio. He has visited a lot of the training camps. What have you seen thus far in this early part of the high school football season that's standing out in your mind?
Discipline. You know, the first thing that stands out to me, Mark, is just the discipline that you're seeing through the coaches and that's trickling down to the players. One thing that I think was important was last summer, a lot of these new coaches were able to use that summertime and not just overuse that extra practice period, but they built their cultures, they built their programs. You have 16 teams getting to the playoffs. You just see a little bit more hunger from these players because they now understand that getting to the top, it's just a little bit easier to get there. Not necessarily easier, but it's an easier path, so to say, than recent years.
Let's talk about the Three Rivers Athletic Conference. You mentioned coaches. There aren't any coaching changes in the track this season. We know who the favorites are going to be, Central Catholic, Findlay, and Whitmer. Who might surprise us in the track this year?
The not so fast, not the little giants, but the big giants. You know, I really like Fremont Ross, Caden Holmes. Chad Long has done a phenomenal job building up this program. They have some really good players. They have some really good pieces. They have 4 wide receivers that any team in the track would put in their lineup and would start today. Now, and that's no questions. I'm not asking anybody to answer that either. That's just what it is. So they have a really good wide receiver core. I think that they could surprise a few teams. And you also look at St. John's with Lichtenberg. Yeah. Blake has done a really good job. Coach Mack, he's really finally got this thing going. Of course, you wish you had another Thomas Zyros, but he's at Toledo, right? This year, they're going to have to find some new guys to count on and make some big plays for Lichtenberg.
And I guess I misspoke. St. Francis technically with a new coach, familiar face, as we know.
Yes.
Bruce Gradkowski left earlier in the year. So Coach Bukowski back in charge of the Knights. Let's talk about the Northern Lakes League. I think it's a similar story where we know who the favorites are in the NLL. It's going to come down to Anthony Wayne. It's going to come down to Perrysburg. Who might sneak in there?
Well, a team that I really like is the Southview Cougars. I really like Isaac Sexton as a running back. He is physical. You got Vance and those guys up front. This is a team that can really do some things. They got a coaching change, but, you know, it's all within the family, so to say, within that program. So I think that they can step up and they'll surprise a few people. They're a lot older and they're a little bit more physical. Got to see some clips from their scrimmage, and I really like what I saw from them defensively.
Let's talk about the Toledo City League. Start has won the last 2 years, but a lot of new faces for the Spartans in terms of the players. They're not returning that much from last year's team. Waite is considered the preseason favorite now in the City League.
Yeah, you got Taylor Jones over there, big-time quarterback. He can make all the plays, make all the throws. They also got some young players and a big offensive line. You know, this offensive line with Holbert up front, they can really make some plays. They can really squeeze it. Their running game is what's key for them. If they can run the ball well and if Taylor can just make a few nice passes, they're going to be okay. He doesn't have to do much this year because they got those big hog mollies up front that's going to take care and clear some lanes so he can just run.
Now, Thursday night, you'll be at Whitmer on the call with Tim Glag for the Spartans and the Panthers. Yes. You've talked to both sides. Your thoughts heading into this matchup?
Well, you know what? This is always a good matchup. Tremainsville. This little street right here holds so much of a rivalry that these guys from start, they don't talk to these guys on social media. It's like, yeah, it's all fun until this week happens. But you know what? This is going to be a big game for Coach Godfrey Lewis. He's going to have to show up with whatever he's got. We know that the Star Spartans are a little bit down this year, but they got some players. Mr. Robert Jones, another young player who's going to step up and make some big plays. But you talk about his best player moved on to Whitmer, and that's Corvell Morgan. I watched him already dominating for the Whitmer Panthers. This is going to be a very, very dominant up-front team. I'm worried a little bit about Star Spartans and how they're going to handle this game because they got some serious girth up front. You talk about Carter Lowe, Cantac. Whitmer's going to be good, and I'm talking about not just in this first game, but through the rest of the season.
This might be a situation where it helps start down the road. Because remember, the Spartans are in Division II this year.
Yes.
So losing to Division I team doesn't hurt you as much as they're trying to get back to the postseason for the second year in a row. Mike Robinson, thank you for joining us. We'll see you Thursday night on the call of the Whitmer Start game. And, of course, every Friday night he'll be here in Game Day Nation.